accounting for authentication and authorization vulnerabilities. Okay. Before we start the session, I'd like to know like how many of you are already into application security? Only one. Okay. And how many of you are developers or students? Like just to understand the like background and set the context. It is mostly into demonstration. Like I will be showing demo and some concept. So when I explain the concept scenarios, later it will be tied to a demo. So I'll understand like what kind of demo I have to show, right? That is why I am asking like what are your background or interests. So any developers here? Okay. Students? Okay, we have mixed audience. And like anyone who is already working into some other domain, but you are also interested in application security, so you are here. Anyone like that? Okay, got it. So, intro about me. As you know my name, I am Sarwar Jahan. I have been working for last 12 years into application security. And I have worked right now I am working at Microsoft as a senior security architect. I also worked at Amazon, Salesforce and some other companies, Synopsys and other companies. And it is like more of a decade, right? I started as a fresher into application security itself, starting with web application security, then gradually moved to different aspects like mobile, code review, design review, threat modeling, like that. So that is the career path I had been to, and I will be also telling you if anyone is new or who is trying to come into application security, how to shape your path, career path. I will also explain that. In today's session, agenda is that we'll talk about authentication, what it is. We'll talk about authorization or privileges. Then we'll go about the different scenarios. In this short duration, I cannot cover all the available scenarios, but few of the things which I explored personally during bug hunting or during doing projects, right? So those few of the things I'll explain and how we can detect those in different applications and what are the mitigation strategies. And then last we have Q&A session. If you want to ask me anything, you can ask. First is authentication. So when you talk or tell the term authentication, what comes into your mind? Yes, so any kind of login in normal terms, right? So authentication is the mechanism of identifying users or identities. It is not only human user, but system to system interaction may also happen. There are backend components. They also need to authenticate themselves, right? So it is like who you are, your identity, and kind of a pass or token or some identifier so that the system or underlying application or whatever you are communicating with, they understand who you are. Then comes authorization. Authorization is nothing but your roles. Remember, authorization comes always after authentication only. So first you have to authenticate, then your roles will be assigned based on your user or your whatever identity you have, right? So in authorization, what you can do, these are the terms defined. It can be a role-based authentication, like different set of roles, or it can be just like one specific service account kind of thing, specific set of actions or operations you can do like that. To talk normally about like, consider any conference, there or a college or institution, there will be different set of users, right? Principal will be having highest authorization, then comes staffs and then students. So everyone has different set defined roles, and that is called authorization. Now what is authorization bypass is the attacker or user who has logged into the system, the roles provided to them or privileges assigned to them, if they are able to do something extra which is not allowed to them or which are not assigned to them, that specific system or hacking method is called authorization bypass. So both things we are going to demonstrate. Let's see few of the authentication scenarios, bypass scenarios, okay? Usually how authentication happens, there can be different kind of authentication, like form-based authentication using username, password, right? Then something called like you can have OAuth, tokens, custom tokens. OAuth is like already industry-wide implementation. So how developers develop with the claims and all, those will be defined and set by the developers. Similar to that, custom authentication tokens can also be defined based on the authentication schema what the developers or architects have defined, right? Now, few authentication token misuse related vulnerabilities may occur. If you go and do a research on auth vulnerability, you see lot of different vulnerabilities. Here, we are going to talk about the implicit grant flow. What happens in that is, for example, is single page web applications where you give your username password, there will be auth server, right? It will generate the token and it will again send back to the client. I mean the user who is trying to log in or the another app who is trying to authenticate you. Okay. Now in that response itself, token will be present. And then the browser or the client will again send another request, redirection request to the actual application where you are trying to log in. And this token will be sent in the next request, 302 request. What happens is in this specific implicit grant flow, if user ID or user and the token is not mapped properly, it is a configuration issue basically. If not mapped properly, what hacker can do is they can initiate a valid authentication request for their own user. They get the token and then they intercept the request. Okay, how many of you are aware of Burp Suite or any kind of proxy tools? Yeah, most of you are aware. So for people who are new, I am just explaining it a bit. So proxy tool is a tool which sits between your browser or application presentation layer, and using that you can modify the traffic, request, response, everything, right? So in such scenarios, what happens? The hacker will use or attacker will use a proxy tool, intercept the request, which is response coming from the auth server, and then again request is going with the token and user ID, right? They intercept the request, change the user value. So they generated valid auth token, but when the next request is going to the actual application for authenticated resources, they change the user ID with valid auth token, and then the actual application server or application cannot validate that, and because the auth token is valid, they give you access to the victim user's account, the changed user ID. So this is the implicit auth grant flow. Similar to that, even other than auth implementation, there can be custom implementation also. So when you are testing any application which has auth tokens, try to do this. Like change the user ID after first initial login request, take the valid auth token, intercept the next request, replace the user ID and see if you get access to the victim user account, replace user account with the valid auth token of yours. Next scenario is use of custom authentication tokens. So what happens when you click logout from any application? You come out of the active session, right? I have seen crazy implementation like actual session ID or auth tokens are not at all expired. You just go out to the login page, but actual session remains active on the server side. The application will just clear the cookie from your browser. That is how the sessions are managed in few applications, okay, which are weekly built. Now just think like attacker. Once you log in, you have the token. Keep it somewhere, and so many tools are there. You have developer tools, cookie manager tools. Keep the session ID, save it somewhere. Click logout, you logged out. Then again import that session ID in your browser and try to access the logged in page, the post authenticated page. If you see you are still able to do that, there is a serious problem. How actually in real world this can be abused is, suppose either token is not expired or token is reused. You are a attacker, you logged into the application with your account only. You are assigned with a custom authentication token. Save it somewhere and log out, and after a few days import the same authentication token or session token to your browser using cookie manager or such tool and try to hit the post authentication pages. Possibilities are, if they are reusing the authentication token again, it may have been assigned to some other active user after you logged out, okay, or after a few days or few hours. Then when you import that same auth token to your browser or your client and refresh the page, you may get access to some random user's account. Understood the flow, right? So crazy things happen in real world. It is not like, seems like it is very simple thing and people have taken care of. But I have seen in my last 1 decade of experience with different companies, different clients, even bug bounty platforms, okay? Like tokens are never expired. Once It should never expire, reused continuously. So such things you can try and test, find out. Next, cookie manipulation. This is not cookie, the eating biscuit cookie. It is like I was asking one of my relatives. So when they were accessing some page, it showed the cookie accept policies. They asked me like, what is cookie? So I was explaining, so that thing came to my mind, so I am telling. I told the same person, I knew my relative, that it is not eating cookie. It is cookie used by your client or browser or your application to identify, right? HTTP is stateless protocol, so it doesn't know who is sending the request. So cookies are used to identify the user. There are different kind of cookie session cookies and tracking cookies kind of things. Now here, cookies may contain sensitive information. That is a design issue, like if cookie contains much more details about the specific user or any sensitive information, that is a design issue. But what we are trying to see is auth bypass scenarios, right? Authentication bypass scenario. Suppose you log into the any application, target application. Application generates session identifiers and cookies. Okay. In the cookie you see username or user ID or some random values are assigned. For example, user ID equal to 100 or user ID equal to some integer or alphanumeric value, or maybe it is a string. Suppose your name, username itself. In that scenario, what happens? You can try to edit the cookie, change the value to some other random victim user, and then refresh the page and see what happens. If you are able to log in as the another user or victim user, then authentication bypass happened, right? Without knowing their password. One simple question I will ask you: where can you try authentication bypass? As we discussed about what is authentication, login, right? Simple term comes to our mind is, thought comes to our mind is, login pages you can try to bypass authentication, username, password, correct? Or some OTP or something like that. That comes to our mind. But is that the only scenario? Post login also you can try to get into someone else's account. So it is not only the login page, anywhere in the application or the system, you can try authentication bypass attacks. Okay. Coming back to our cookie manipulation, after you log in, if you see there are some user identifiers which allows you to log in or which tracks you in that application session, active session. Try to modify them and see if you can log into someone else's account. Now the long session expiration time, what I was telling, you might have seen in few applications like social media or mailing application. In case of any incident happening, like credential breach or some data leakage happens, you may receive an email saying change your password. Correct? That is to protect your account. What about like long sessions? You are logged into application like in our phone or in our system. When you log in, persistent cookies are there, like expiration date will be there. If you don't log out, cookie remains active or session remains active to the application. In those scenarios, suppose someone has stolen your active session. Even if you change your password, that active session may remain active and the hacker may still get hold of your account, right? So to prevent that kind of incidents, many of the application allows the user to force kill all the active sessions. You may log into few applications like Facebook. For example, I'm just giving example, don't take that product name or application as like hard value. Just for an example, any social media application which is having strong security mechanism, go to log into the application, go to your account section, you may find out somewhere active sessions tab, where you can see you have logged in from an Android device, an iOS device, an Windows system with geolocation, like you are logged in from Hyderabad, now you are logged in from Bangalore. There you can manage, you can end the session. Either you can end all active sessions or specific session you can end, which you believe like it is no longer your device. So right now the attack scenario is many applications are there which don't think like this. Okay, they may give login, they think you will log out. And in case of any incident where a hacker has already compromised your active session, there will be no option to force log out all the active session. In that scenario, doesn't matter you change the password, you do whatever, that session remains active till the expiration time, or it may refresh also. So expiration time may also refresh based on the user activity. So hackers, suppose they got access to your account, they are continuously doing something. Just refreshing the page, it may also update the session expiration time. So in that scenario, your compromised account will never get recovered. It will still be with the hacker. Understood the scenario? So whenever you are testing any application, go and check for session expiration duration and different scenarios. Okay, we'll see in the demo how it works. Here I am just first telling the concepts, then we'll switch to demo and I will show you. And I'll ask you also some volunteers to tell me scenarios what to test, and we'll see if we can do that. Last authentication bypass scenario what I want to discuss is the abuse of functionality. Okay. In case you can see here forgot password flow and change password. It is not FLOW, it is FLAW. Means there is a vulnerability included in there, right? Flow and flow. Similarly, what are the difference between forgot password and change password? Can anyone tell me? Any difference between forgot password and change password? Both are functionality only. Changing the password, whoever is the user. But is there any difference? Correct. So forgot password is even before login, you forgot your password. So there is an option by the application to change your password. First you have to verify you are the valid user or owner of that account. It will ask some security questions, your recovery email address or phone number. After verification only, it will allow you to change your password and get back to your account. This is forgot password feature. Change password is you have authenticated to the application, then there will be some profile management or security management page where you can change your current password. Okay, so first scenario, you don't have login, you forgot. Application is verifying you and then giving you some option. Second is, you know your password, you logged in, so you are already authenticated, you go to change password and change your password. In both the scenarios, there are n number of bypass scenarios, bypass test cases. I'll tell one or two. So forgot password, suppose you forgot your password. Any application, you go to the application, click on forgot password, it will ask you to enter your email address, registered email address. You entered your email address. What next? Either it will send you a password reset email to that email link, or it may send an OTP to your email, or it may send an OTP to your phone number, registered phone number, right? Or it may ask you security question also. What are your security questions is set already. Do you see any attack scenarios or attack paths here in 3-4 scenario? I found one vulnerability a few years back. Banking application, some bank. I will not mention the name of the bank, it is some bank, ABC Bank. In the forgot password feature, it comes sending OTP, okay, to verify you are the owner of it. So, star, like email address and phone number both are present. Where do you want to receive your OTP? Either both or anyone you can choose. It is mentioned star, last 3 or 4 characters. Like phone number, last 4 characters, email address, last 4 characters. So I have to choose, radio buttons, and then click send, and it would send the OTP to the specified registered email address or phone number. Now what I did was, using the same proxy tool, I selected one account, intercepted and clicked next. In the request I see whole email address was available. On the UI just it was masking, but on the request it was sending whole email address. I could change the email address. Suppose any victim user's email address first I will enter in the forgot password page. It will redirect to the sending OTP. Here I can use interception tool, change the email address to my email address. Now OTP is sent to me and I could take over account of the victim users account. Phone or both I can change. I could change, right? So this is an issue. You understood how? So anywhere if you are a developer, never implement security decisions from client side inputs. In that scenario, what was happening? Whatever user is sending, based on that value only, they are sending the OTP. It should not happen like that. They have to map the user on the backend to the registered email address or phone number, so that any end users will not get hold of those. I cannot modify those triggers. Understood? Coming to change password flows, and some scenarios. Suppose you logged into your account, go to change password. You see there are current password, new password, update password, verify password. If the application thinks or if the developer thinks you are already logged in, right? I already authenticated you, my application authenticated you, you are the valid user. So why again verify your password? No need to verify your password, just update password. Huge flow. Because using other attacks like CSRF or click checking, attacker may try to remotely change your password or victim's password if the application does not verify the current password. Okay, without knowing your current password, attacker can trigger the request to change any user's password. One flow. Another flow, you are the hacker. Changing your own password. While changing your own password, you may try to see if any user identifier is being sent in the request. Try to change that to other user and change other user's password. That also I found in few of the applications and it is present in many applications. One scenario, I'll exactly tell you the scenario. When I logged into the application as a normal user, I don't have admin portal or something. So I log in, I can see change password option is there. When I visit that change password, in the URL I see request is going to /user/myID. Okay, and when I click change password, it will send request to password. Current password was there. Current password, new password, update password, and endpoint is the abc.com/user/myID. Now I thought of the change, try to change other user's password by changing the ID, but still current password is there. I don't know the password of that specific ID. Multiple things are typed. What if I remove the current password parameter itself from the request? Okay, one scenario. I removed and it allowed. So I understood if I can find out some valid user ID, I can change the current remove the current password from the request and maybe able to change the password of another user. For me it's happening without current password. But how will I know other user's ID? It was a long number, not simple 4 or 5 digits, right? It was long alphanumeric string. So I was doing more digging on the application, same endpoint, /users, I replaced it to /users.json. Sometimes it happens, okay, in few of the application. I got a JSON file would contain all the users of that application, user ID and username. Now it was easy for me, just take the password reset request and keep on changing the user ID values which I received and then change password of anyone. I could literally take over anyone's account by this change password functionality, and it was a bug bounty and they accepted and paid a huge reward. Okay, so you can imagine if you are targeting one application ethically, not unethically, and you can change everyone's password in that system, which is a critical vulnerability, right? So when you are testing any application, think about this. And have you read the disclaimer? So I will go back to the disclaimer again. I forgot to tell that because of the setup. First disclaimer is whatever opinion, views I am sharing today in this session, it is my own. It is not representing any of my entities or companies I work for previous, past or present. Okay, this was the first disclaimer. Second disclaimer will come in the demo. So whatever you learn, you are going to learn today, only use that for ethical purposes. Go do research on demo applications. Go do bug bounty, bug hunting. Or if you are working in a company, take some authorization. I want to test this application. Do that. If you want to explore something or do some research on other products which are not your company's product, there are a lot of different platforms like bug bounty platform, vulnerability disclosure programs. Go there, register, verify yourself, take permission and do. You are open to do that. But do not do any unethical activities. Okay, so this was my second disclaimer. Whatever you learn, keep it for ethical activities only.
Sir, for the password, we have followed the same process, right? That is a proxy, we have separate the PIN and we have
Correct.
changed the ID.
Yes, so in Work Suite there is a repeater option is there. So otherwise you have to keep on sending the request every time. So send the request to repeater and just change the values and keep on sending. You can automate also. You can write your own script. You have so many extenders and advanced for Work Suite also. You can write your own. No need of any tool also, using your browser's developer toolbar also you can automate things. Just write scripts. So another questions, like I also conduct sessions at colleges, right? I mean free sessions to spread awareness. There I ask one thing. If you are not from computer science background, do you think you can be a good hacker, ethical hacker or no? You can. So coding experience or coding knowledge is not mandatory to become ethical hacker. It is an extra advantage where your scope will increase. Like you can do code review, you can build something to break something. If you don't know coding, if you don't understand coding, still you can be an ethical hacker and you can shine also. Like you can only do dynamic testings. But if you know coding, you can also do static analysis. You can do design reviews more. Understood? So it will add an extra scope for you or extra value. But it is not like coding is mandatory for application security. There are like lot of influencers or speakers out there who tell like learn coding otherwise you will not survive. That is not true. You can have lot of tools, you can write your own scripts if you know coding. But even if you don't know, don't feel scared or don't think like you will not be able to do it, you can do it. There are many very good ethical hackers who are top in rank. They initially did not, they are not at all from computer science branch. So do you think like in India we have like if you have degree then only you will get a job. But in other countries it's not like that. Even people, I have seen many great leaders now who did not have a formal degree. They were like learning on their own. They were from totally different backgrounds. While doing some activity, their users like using some app or something, they got interest and they started learning. They did, and now they are in very good leadership position in big companies. So it's not mandatory. You should have a formal degree. You should know coding. You should be from computer science. Those are myths. That is not true. Anyone can become good ethical hacker, but ethical hacker. Remember that. Coming to the OTP bypass scenario, you can try to bypass OTPs. I will tell few of the scenarios which I experienced. That is because of debugging enabled. Okay, now I tell you little bit out of context from authentication bypass. Configuration related issues. So when you run any security scanner tool, initially it will scan for all the configurations. Be it cloud security assessment, code review assessment or dynamic testing assessment. Easy to find vulnerabilities are from configuration. Because configuration is a file, scanner finds common mistakes in that. Right? One common thing you would see if you look at scan result of any tool, debugging equal to true or debug is enabled. So justification or description given there will be the application has debugging mode enabled. Attacker may be able to exploit this. Go to debug mode in the live application, fetch more information. This is the only statement you will get, which does not make much sense from the business perspective or from the impact perspective. Right? What can happen if it goes to debug mode? We don't know. Now we'll talk about that specific debug mode, how it can lead to authentication bypass. There was this mobile application, which was banking application. I was doing one assessment. So when I tried to transact, log into the mobile banking app, you are already added with your beneficiaries, means whom you want to send money. When you send money, OTP will be sent to your phone, correct? We all know about this scenario. Why OTP is used? Because you are already logged in. During login also you send OTP. For example, how many of you have SBI account? Anyone? You use Yono mobile app. You see lot of OTPs it will send. First login it will send an OTP. Then you go to any profile section, it will send another OTP to your phone. Transaction, another OTP. Why so many OTPs? Once you already logged in, it sent you OTP, verified you. Why again OTP? Any idea? It seems annoying, but it is for your security only. Because suppose in some scenario, hacker is able to bypass the login OTP. Then to prevent the hacker to do other actions inside your account, another OTP is sent. Now someone may debate or argue saying that if the phone itself is cloned or SIM itself is cloned, that is different test case. But app or app owner side or application owner side, they are putting extra layer of security to protect the users, right? Coming back to our scenario, this specific mobile application was sending OTP. Initially, when I initiate the transaction, it sends an OTP. I use in the UI, it was just showing the OTP sent, enter your OTP. But when I intercepted the request using again any proxy tool, I tried to give a wrong value. Sorry, in the recipient, like intercept the request, already added recipient, I change the recipient type or recipient account number. See what is response. Because debugging was enabled, detailed error message was coming on the response. Not visible on the UI, but on the response, raw response, I could see detailed error messages. There I saw that the account number entered is wrong. Correct account number is this. Okay. Okay. So I found the correct account number or correct phone number where I want to receive OTP. So I changed the value. Try to give my phone number, change the value. OTP sent. Enter OTP. So I entered a wrong OTP and intercepted the response and see OTP entered is wrong. Correct OTP is this. Okay. Because it is in debugging mode, na? So the system is thinking someone is testing the application from internal side. So they forgot to disable debugging in production. So in test environment, any error happens, to help the tester or the developer to bypass that error, instructions is coming from the server itself or the backend program, right? But in production, they forgot to disable the debugging. So same thing is happening in production account also. I mean, hacker is trying to bypass the OTP authentication or mechanism by giving wrong OTPs. Response is saying error message is containing the actual OTP. Is there any way to prevent that attacker now? He has the account, he got the valid username, he got the valid password, I mean phone number, and also the OTP. So he can initiate the transaction also. And if you start seeing your account is getting debited, you know, calling your customer care and blocking your account, how much time it will take. First of all, verifying you are the right user by authenticating yourself on the phone banking. Then what incident happened? Connecting with a real user, I mean backend customer care agent itself is going to take 2-3 minutes. Like press 1, press 2, press 3, press 9, verify your account, verify your thing, everything will be there. Meanwhile, the hacker will keep on sending or taking out your money. Another real incident happened with one of my colleagues. He was also from cybersecurity background only. In Hyderabad, he shifted his home, took a new flat from his hometown. He wanted a gas connection. So he searched on Google, gas connection near me. He found a number, called that number. That guy told, okay, we will give you gas connection tomorrow. Send your passbook's front page, your Aadhaar card's photocopy. And is this your linked mobile number? So he thought, okay, he told yes. On the conversation only, that guy sent him some link or something. He could not recognize also what he did. And he clicked something or somewhere, then message started coming to his phone, 10,000 debited, 20,000 debited like that. So he called customer care. And again, the thing I mentioned, by the time he disabled his debit card and account transactions, already 90,000 or something rupees was stolen. Then he went to cybercrime department. They called the scammer. That guy started scolding police also. And then again called my colleague and told, if you again go to any police or cybercrime department, next month's salary also I will give you. So what he did, he went to bank, he closed that account, he created another account, he got scared. Then he came and told us the scenario at office. So we asked him like what you did and all. So far we could understand, on the call itself, he may receive some link or something which he clicked and something installed on his phone or something happened. And then the miscreant or scammer started stealing money from his account. Okay? So whatever you do on your phone, be very much careful. Another thing I would say, I am not again telling any product is more secure or less secure or something. You all know security is continuously evolving process. There are many apps which by default access your messages, text messages. So your phone has default messaging app, right? In which you receive OTPs or all those sensitive details. Now another app, suppose, which you installed on your phone, it can be any kind of app. if by default it has read access to all your messages, do you think it is a safe thing? I uninstalled all such kind of apps, which by default have read access to your messages. So what happens is, if any hacker finds out any vulnerability in those applications, from where he can initiate transaction, message will come to, OTP will come to your phone. He will read your OTP using that app and successfully transact. How will you stop that? So I keep on scanning or checking my device for any such app which without my permission or my approval keeps reading my messages. So do not use any such kind of apps which can read your messages or emails or something. Understood? That is a security best practice from your end to protect your financial activities. Demo? Interested? So we'll see only one or two scenarios because time is a constraint here. So many demo applications available online. What happens, either there will be network issues when I am trying to explain or demonstrate, or suppose I don't know what exactly happening in the backend. It is just given by some third party vendor, right? I don't have control what data I am sending, what it is, how it is behaving. Or if I have to install some tooling in my system, whether I am installing some vulnerable things or not. That is why I built my own application and also made it public in GitHub. Any of you want to collaborate, want to download it, want to do some research, feel free to do that. I will share the link. So what happens is that you will understand how the application works. As I told, development is not a necessary part or mandatory part for application security. But you know you will be able to break more things. Okay, so you can go and explore the application, you can understand the logic so that you can host your own environment. Now, this is an application. It looks like a social media application kind of thing. There are so many functionalities here, but our concentration is with respect to authentication bypass, right? So you can see registration, user login, so many login pages are there. Also, we can try to authentication bypass by while creating user, another scenario I would say here. While creating user, try to take over some other user's account. Create user for someone else. That also is possible scenario because endless scenarios are there. So if you are able to create user for someone else, you know their password, their credential. You created a user for them. Next time when they log in, if the backend system links his account with your created account using his identifier, then you are a hacker, you catch hold of another user's login mechanism or login details. Such scenarios can also be possible. Okay. In this scenario, let's just log in my account. Okay. Log in. You can see welcome. And you see different new functionalities came. Another question I would ask. Authentication bypass is first thing we talked about login mechanism, username, password, right? One quick information is over the real world scenario, 40-50% compromise, account compromise happen because of leaked credentials. Your username password leaked somewhere, or you might have set a easily guessable password or very weak password, or suppose you use same password in multiple accounts, different applications. One application's credential got stolen, then hacker tried that same credential on another application and got access to your account. These are the real world scenarios of how authentication bypass happens by leaked credentials. Okay, 40-50% scenarios and incidents are like that one. Now in this scenario, we discussed few of the test cases. Suggest me one test case how I can try to see if I can log into someone else. Cookie editing by user ID. Let's see what is the cookie present here. So I am showing cookie manager add-on. You can use anything, like any cookie editor. So you can see right? PHP session ID is assigned once I logged in. Username, user cookie value is my username only. Is logged in equal to true and is admin equal to false. These are the 4 cookie parameters. Right? Now session ID, we can try changing session ID in that scenario we discussed. The use of session ID, changing the session ID to someone else's. One scenario. Another easy scenario is changing the username. Try to change the username to someone else and see if we are able to log into that account. So we will try that. Now, are you getting any question how I know other users' ID? In another example, I mentioned that I went to the users.json and got the user's ID. How will I get to the other user's ID? To exploit this, we need some user ID, right? I am coming there also. Now I know that there is a, okay, no, I'll show that first, then I'll come. First, let us find out some other user's ID. From here, we can't see any other user's ID. So log out. There is a search user functionality. So you have to explore the application, understand its features. Information gathering is the first step of security testing activity. So I am now back to information gathering phase. There is a search user page. If I give any username here, I get the user details. Now, how many of you are aware of SQL injection vulnerability? SQL injection is an attack where I can send malicious SQL command and do something extra. So here we will not explain much of that, just I will show you the example. Here I got all users detail. Okay, this specific functionality was to search for users only first name, last name and address. But what I did was exploiting SQL injection, I got hold of all the username. Now I go to log in my account and change any of these values and see if I am able to bypass or log into that user's account. Fast forward to the cookie manager. So one username from there I copied was C sites. Save the cookie. See, I logged into C sites. Okay, how you can verify is if you go to my profile, you see C sites details are fetched. You have to also verify. Just changing a value in the one page, if you just see UI welcome C sites. But if you go to profile and see my details are only fetched, then authentication bypass did not happen. But here on the welcome page also it was showing welcome C site, and when I go to my profile it is showing C sites details, and here I can change the password. So if I change the password now I will be able to totally take over the account, and then C site will lose the access. This user will lose the access. If I don't change password, just log out, then I access other user's account, but I did not take over the account. Understanding the difference, right? They will still be able to log in using their own password. If I change the password, they will not be able to log in. That means I am totally taking over that account. So there are different scenarios. You have to keep the judgment and understand. Okay. One demo we have seen. Because of time, we will not go for other demos. All the vulnerabilities what we discussed, what I found in different applications, real applications, I tried to put into this demo application. So you can also go download and do your own research. I'll share the details later at the end. Now let's move back to our session and presentation. Authorization bypass now. First is privilege escalation scenarios. There are role-based access controls, right? When you log in, there will be roles as per administrator, normal user, or account owner. So many different kind of roles may be there. So usually, if you look into the application after you log in and inspect all the variables, you may find in few applications Boolean-based roles are used. Is admin, is super user, is manager, something like that. It will be either set to true or false based on your account. Or you can see some role parameter is mentioned. Role equal to admin, role equal to user, role equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, numeric or string, something like that. Or role equal to some long identifier. So anything may be possible based on the application how it is implemented. Now how we can bypass the privileges or escalate our privileges. Suppose you logged in, you see your role is assigned as user. Edit it, make it admin and see if you get admin functionalities. You log in, you find somewhere in the request parameter is admin equal to false. Toggle it to true and see what my first bug bounty vulnerability in my life in 2014, 2014. When I was just 1 year experience, I started my career in 2013. Okay, so one fine day I was just exploring some application for my personal use at home on a weekend. I logged in and I see it was a demo account, I mean test account, right? Some CRM application. And there was mentioned as is admin equal to false. So I just curiosity I changed it to is admin equal to true. And then I see in the UI I found lot of different functionalities which were not present when I was normally logging in. Then I went to their website. I can tell because it is publicly already my name is there on their acknowledgement base CRM. It was a CRM application that time in 2014. So I found that I registered. I was a normal user. In the after login, I see is admin equal to false. I made it true. I could see lot of extra features. So I sent an email to their security@basecrm.com email that I might have found a vulnerability. So they told, okay, explain us the vulnerability. So I explained. They told maybe you have created the application and you are doing editing from your own side. Maybe it is not a vulnerability. Let us create one account for you. I will send you the credentials. Try to do the same thing on that account. So they created one account from their end in the production instance. Gave me that user credential. I logged in and reproduced same thing and sent a video to them. Immediately they accepted and provided me bounty. And that was my first bounty. I was just a 1 year experience guy. Okay. Then I started digging more into that application and found 3 more vulnerabilities, different category, and they rewarded all of them. Then I understood that if I am into bug bounty, I can make some Hall of Fame pages, they put my name. And I can also earn some extra amount, right? On my free time. Again, here another disclaimer. The company you are working at, there may be some policies or guidelines or NDAs you already signed, which may restrict you to participate in bug bounty activities. So please go through those. For last few years, I am not doing bug bounty because of such things. So if you are working in any company, either take permission from your company leadership to participate in extra bug bounty activities, or go through your NDAs and policies whether you are eligible to participate or not. There are some clauses. Suppose your company's customers, you cannot do bug bounty. Your company's partners, you cannot do bug bounty, but others you can. Similar clauses are there. Go through those and to engage in such activities. Otherwise, there will be legal consequences. Okay. So understood how I could bypass authorization checks. Now design issues. Similarly, in authentication bypass, we saw design flaws, right? Here in authorization scenarios also, there may be some design flaws. First one is client-side authorization. Suppose you log in, you see many buttons disabled or many fields disabled because you are not admin. You can still see those in the page, but you are unable to click on them because it is disabled. That is called client-side authorization implementation, right? What if you can just inspect the element? How many of you know about basic HTML? Everyone knows almost, right? So HTML attributes will be there for specific element, disabled equal to disabled. That means that specific element is disabled. Users cannot edit or click on that. You can just edit on the client side, make it enabled. Remove the disabled attribute itself, the element becomes enabled, click on that. Or suppose it is in text field, you cannot change the username or something value. Remove the disabled parameter and try to edit that and see what happens. So that is called client-side authorization check. If the application not validating on server side again, then you will be able to bypass the authorization there. Okay. Perform disabled functionalities, perform disabled update, disabled activities and all. Next one is IDOR. You know I don't? Insecure direct object references. So each and everything, not only in digital world, real world also, we all have our own unique names. Correct? That is your identifier. Without identifier, nothing is there. So, for example, these are collective items like chairs. So here all the chairs do not have any identifier. But if you go inside office space, each desk, table, everything will be having an identifier, right? Similarly, in digital world, everything has an ID. All resource has some ID. It can be a numeric, alphanumeric, string, or something, some resource identity. Now, insecure direct object reference vulnerability happens when you can change those identifiers and access other users' resources or restricted resources. That specific flow is called IDOR. Now, in authorization bypass scenarios, suppose you log in, you have your resources, your photos, your documents. Those are having IDs. If you change the ID and get access to someone else's resource, someone else's file, that is authorization bypass. Simple example, this also personally we found in my first company where I was working. HRMS portal, where we see our salary, payslip, all those things. So when I click on view payslip, in the worksheet you can see my employee ID is passed. We can find others' employee IDs, like how in this application in the search portal we saw. So in the employee org chart we can see each and everyone's employee ID. So what we did, like we were freshers, no? We changed our employee ID with my manager's employee ID, team lead's employee ID. So everyone's salary we could see. So then we reported it to our within team. Then because we were very beginners, so we reported to within team. Then our lead and manager, they escalated it to the HRMS team, HR team and vendors team, and it was fixed. So basically we could see anyone's payslip details, anyone's rating also. So when appraisal seasons came, managers would give ratings to each of the employees. There also go to the view my ratings, again employee ID is being passed. So everything was attached with the identifier of employee ID. Changing that value, exploiting IDOR, we could access other users' details which are not allowed to us to see. This specific scenario, like which when I am not authorized to do something, I am not authorized to access something, some other details, if I am able to do that, that is called privilege escalation or authorization bypass, right? So this is one scenario. Last is functionality abuse. We already saw one functionality abuse in authentication bypass cases, right? Forward password or change password. Similarly here, authorization vulnerabilities. Just one example, I would say one real example. I think there was this application, project management application, where there are different users: manager, project owners, and then developers, testers, different kind of roles. Devs or testers, they cannot create project. Okay, they can only work on the project which they are assigned to. Managers or product owners can create projects and assign other users into their project who can work. Okay. Now, as a developer, suppose he is my manager. So he added me to his project. I can create a separate account in the application where I will become the owner of that specific account. I can create project and become manager there. In one project, he is the project manager, I am working as a developer. In another project on the same application, because I created the project, I became the by default owner of the project and manager of the project. I can add other users to the project. Okay, I can manage the project. But according to business logic, I am not allowed to delete this project, his project. But according to the application logic, because other project I am owner, I can delete my project. I can edit my project also. Now, while creating a project or adding user to my account, my project, I change project identifier to this manager's project and added myself as admin. There. So functionality is managers can add new users in their project. How I abused it is while adding user to my project, I changed project identifier to another project where I am not admin I added myself as admin in that project. Then I go to that project and I did privilege escalation. So I became admin for different project where I was a normal user. Understood the scenario? So this is how you have to understand all the functionality of the target application. Think like hacker. Think n number of possibilities what you can do as a business, as a normal workflow, and then try to use that functionality to achieve something extra. And this is the thing I wanted to convey. Now we will go back to demo and I will demonstrate few things. And if you go to my profile, that this project management thing what I explained, this also I found in many applications, but one publicly disclosed is in bug bounty portal, like one I found similar kind of thing. And once you have lot of experience, now you will find same vulnerability across applications. Little bit tweaks here and there you have to do, and you will be able to exploit same kind of similar kind of thing. Because everything is logic and business, right? For example, just give you an example, photo editing software. There are like n number of photo editors, all do the same functionality, editing photo. Little bit more features here and there they will be having. Suppose you found one vulnerability in one photo editing software, high possibilities are you find the same vulnerabilities in many other photo editing software. Maybe you have to do little more research, little more tweaking on the parameters and all, but possibilities are high. Similarly, that happens in different kind of applications as well. Now let's go to demo. Again, disclaimer. Blogger login page, you can see this is a different kind of user. So now we are talking about authorization bypass. So we have to have different roles. One role you have seen, normal user when logs in, they can see send message, view message and all. Another user is their blogger user. Let's see what he can see after logging. So when blogger logs in, he does not have that send message, view message, edit profile, those functionalities are not there. As per this user role, he can only write a blog and give a blog. So either blogger user can give a title, content and a blog entry, which will create a blog, and then they can just view all the blogs. These are the only two functionality available for the bloggers, right? Now, in this blog page, see the URL, writeblog.php. Okay, this is the identifier for this specific functionality, write blog. Remember this, okay? Now log out. Logging back to the user account. When normal users log in, there is no write blog functionality. It is not there present, it is missing, right? Let's see if I edit the URL. As a normal user, I am not allowed to write a blog, but by kind of IDOR, not direct example of IDOR, but kind of IDOR where I access the blogger's write blog page by editing the URL. Usually IDOR happens, it will be having some ID, identifier, right? ID page ID equal to 1, page ID equal to 2 like that. But here I have not built the application like that. Just to explain you, I am telling IDOR happens like this, but this specific example is not called IDOR. It will be called access control bypass. Okay, say other page, access control, high sensitive pages or high privileged pages can be accessed directly. But IDOR also happens like this. These are just naming convention, okay? So here you can see, as a normal user, I am able to access the write blog page and see if I can write something. If I am unable to write, then privilege escalation did not happen. Just access control thing happened. Access control vulnerability, it will go as access control vulnerability where I am able to access the other user's page which I am not allowed. But if I am able to post a blog, then I tell that I have already done privilege escalation because I am able to do some changes as well or some thread declaration. Okay. So yes. So it is saying success. Let's go and see view one blog. Here you can see all the other blogs. Author is blogger, but for this new one, author is server. That means as a user, I am not allowed to write a blog, but by directly accessing the right blog page, I could also do privilege escalation. I did something extra which are not allowed as per my role. This is one example of privilege escalation. Now, another thing we discussed about disabled attributes, right? This is the last demo. What is the time? 10 minutes. Functionality abuse also we'll see, okay, in authorization space. If you go to send message of this application, user list is already pre-generated. All the users from the users table, I can send message to any of them. Correct? What if I, like using work suite, when I submit, if I intercept the request and change any of these values, here we can see 6 users are listed, right? I can send message, try to send message to admin or some other users who are not present in my list. Then also it will become authorization bypass. It will happen, but I have not opened Boxwood, so let's try another way. Just inspect this one. You can see all the values. On submit, this value will pass. So either you can do intercept the request using a proxy tool and change the value, or inspect element and change values here only on the client side. So sometimes what happens in modern applications, as soon as you click submit, there will be some JavaScript frameworks on that embedded on the application which will check the value and update it before sending. So that's when proxy tool comes into picture. So proxy tool is just after your browser, right? So whatever client-side validation, verification is there in the application, those you can easily bypass using proxy. But directly editing the browser, like using developer tool, it may again re-modified by the JavaScript. So here there is no JavaScript like this, so I am able to show you. But in real scenarios, you can use proxy tool to do that. I may not be able to demonstrate this properly. It's here, though it shows C sides here, internal value I changed to admin. And you can see your message was sent to admin, not C side. Right? Now if admin logs in, they would see a message coming from server where it was not expected. Only admins can send message to admins, users can send message to users. But by editing the fixed enumerated values, I could also send message to other users or high privilege user or admin user. This is one client side or functionality bypass scenario. Now let's go to the another authorization scenario where combining of authorization as well as authentication bypass, both are shown. Edit profile. Scenario I told you about authentication bypass. Current password is not being asked. And new password, confirm password. But this username field is non-editable. It is read-only and disabled. Any scenarios you can think of now? Yeah. Password I give 0000 0000. Okay. Change password. Password change successful. How do we verify? Log out, log in again. Zero, 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 zero. Okay, so now in first authentication bypass scenario, we edited the cookie, got account of another user without changing their password. So we did not change their password. That means that user could still log in using their own password. In this scenario, first we bypass the client-side authorization mechanism, disabled field, read-only field, we remove that restriction, edited the username field, put some other user's username there, changed password, logged in at the victim user's account. Now, the C-side user will not be able to log into account itself because we changed the password. Whatever their password, we don't know. Now, using that password, they will not be able to log in because we totally took over the account. This way, exploiting one vulnerability, attaching it to the other, you can do something extra. But my closing statement here is, whenever you are testing any application, don't limit yourself to one specific test case. Try to understand the application functionality, different features. Try to abuse the functionality, think like hacker, what extra you can do. Or using this functional intended feature, what extra you can do. And then combine all those things and perform attacks. Then it becomes more impactful, more severe. And if you are working for your company, you will get a reward in respect to your performance. If it is bug bounty, you will get higher rewards. So these are the two things you can do. Let's go back and see if anything remaining and we can conclude there. Now we have to talk about remediation fast. First thing is logging scenarios, auth token, user IDs, they have to always map. Simply without mapping, do not just rely on one factor of authentication. Traceable user ID or tokens in cookie, no. It is bad practice. Session invalidation. In case of logout, server side invalidate the actual session. Otherwise, it may be used by hackers. Strong password reset functionality, as we discussed. Someone may try to bypass the functionality itself. Response body contains debugging error messages. So, in production application, debugging should never be enabled. Also, any server-side errors, detailed error messages should never be sent to the client. Only generic error messages should be there. Otherwise, attacker will try to find out more sophisticated attacks. App data is mobile application. There will be app data folders and local storages, right? They should not contain any sensitive details. There are many scenarios in data aspect also which we could not cover here. But there are scenarios using app local data storage. You can try to access sensitive information, bypass authentication, authorization, etc. So local storage, local media should not contain any sensitive details. Authorization related best practices. Always map role with the session ID. If session ID and user and roles are not mapped, then attacker user can try to change their role and perform something extra. GUI based client-side privilege implementation, what we discussed, disable field, read-only field, or do not rely on any kind of client-side authorization only. Implement server-side authorization checks based on roles and permissions. Proper access control mechanism for the pages, post-authentication pages, so that other user cannot, or low privilege user cannot directly call your high privilege pages by name. Use of IDOR, like instead of fixed identifier of your resources, dynamically generate. So best example here is, if you look into cloud-based applications where cloud resources are provided, you would see the same photo or file, the name will be changed dynamically. So a random name will be assigned for your resource, timestamp is also there, till when you can access that page. For example, access any S3 resources, AWS S3 resources. When you upload something on S3, the resource identifier will be dynamically keep changing. So every time you access the file or page, the name will be different. So hacker cannot modify that or access that with a fixed identifier. The idle happens because of use of fixed identifier for the resources, right? Then server-side validation of business logic validation. So for any functionality or any business logic, implement proper server-side validation. So you would say we are thinking like hacker, why we need remediation? Coming to that fact is, when you identify something, you have to tell the developers how to fix that. If you are working at a company, you have to write full remediation steps. If you are submitting a bug in a bug bounty platform, there also you have to give remediation statements. So for that, you also have to understand how to fix it. Just identifying is don't limit like that. Also try to understand how you can fix it. That will help the developer. And in few of the bug bounty platforms, if you provide remediation also, you will get extra bonus. So that is how comes like how much you want to go. Only doing exploitation, yes, you are good. If you can also fix, you will get more benefit. End of the session. These are the, if you want to connect with me, my social media handles, my LinkedIn profile, and I also have a YouTube channel. Please go and subscribe. So what I am doing there is like creating like basic application security content there for beginners and freshers. Yeah, that's all. And if you want to download the application which we have seen, right, there are a lot of other vulnerabilities you want to research or do some testing. You can go to my GitHub, same handle, you can go to GitHub and download the repository. Do your own deployment. All step-by-step demonstration is there. Thank you again all for attending.